Alright, so first of all, you may notice I'm in a different area. I have company here and I have to record in a different area. So, there's that. 2. Do I have a 2? Took one earlier when the company came over, but no. So, Showdown in Little Tokyo is the movie I'm discussing. It is the final part of my Pick 10 action, the review part anyway. Although one day I do hope to cover Rumble in the Bronx with Jackie Chan, because I love Jackie Chan. But Big Trouble in Little Tokyo is the one we're talking about. Or Showdown in Little Tokyo. I'm confusing Big Trouble in Little China with Showdown in Little Tokyo. Showdown in Little Tokyo, starring Dolph Lundgren and Brandon Lee. Rest in peace. Also, there's Carrere. Hold on, I gotta. Of course, it doesn't say it. Carrere Hiroyuki. Carrere Hiroyuki Tagawa. Tia Carrere, whose body double has wonderful tits, by the way. By the way, I didn't know this movie was rated R, and when they got to a pool scene where I saw some titties, I was, I think of the word. And I was a little thrown off. I was like, well, titties! And I did not see that coming. There's quite a bit of titties. In fact, there was even a scene where they're at a club or whatever it was, or a Chinese restaurant or something. I don't know what it was. Or not Chinese, Japanese, whatever. They're eating sushi off naked women. And I made it, Brandon Lee makes a comment, wherever we go, I don't eat sushi. I said, neither do I. And then when they get here, he's like, I think I changed my mind. I said, me too. So, yeah. Also, there's a scene where Brandon Lee does this thing where he bends over. He does that. I'm not going to try to do it, but he does that. The Japanese bend. Whatever. I tried to do it, and I hurt my nuts somehow. I don't know how that works, but the story is there is 2 cops who are tracking down the Yakuza, and it just so happened by coinkydink that the leader of the Yakuza is the one who killed one of the cops, played by Dolph Lundgren's parents when he was younger. Now, I'm guessing they're having Dolph Lundgren play younger here, because I looked it up, and Dolph Lundgren and Tagawa, we'll just call him Tagawa, are only about 10 years apart, maybe? Because I think Tagawa is 70, in his 70s, and Lundgren is in his 60s. So that's like 10 years or so, maybe less, apart. And what they show in the flashback is a fully grown Tagawa and like a little, maybe 10, 11-year-old kid. So, who knows. But, yes, I also would like to point out that Tia Carrere is obviously using a body double for when she's supposed to be naked. It's very obvious. They only show her from behind or the waist down, and it's very obviously this body double is wearing a wig because it looks fake as hell. I'm telling you. It's very obvious. Because, I was watching all these naked women and stuff. I'm like, because there's like 2 naked, when Tagawa goes back to see her, there are 2 naked women there, just sitting there with their tits out, and she's standing there fully clothed. I'm like, okay, I'm thinking, because she wouldn't do nudity. And then you see it later, and it's obviously a body double, so it takes care of that. And also, I find it hard to believe that, like, Dolph Lundgren is chasing after this woman that he had sex with once. I know he was taken from her home, but it's just like, I gotta save you because I love you because we fucked once. And yeah, there's this joke. Alright? So, earlier in the film, he stashes her away at this safe house or whatever it is, and he says, I gotta go. I'll be back or whatever. And he's like, he's like, shoot at anyone that comes through the door. And she's like, well, what if it's you? He goes, you won't see me coming, or you won't hear me coming. And she doesn't. But then, like, when they have sex, she says, I heard you coming. Look, it's funny, fine, ha ha ha, but it's corny as all hell. All right. Also, why they gotta have the 6'8" Swedish man dress up like the Asian person? You have an Asian American. Yes, he's Chinese American, not Japanese. But you have 6'8" Dolph Lundgren, blonde ass Dolph Lundgren, walking around with samurai pants, a kimono, and a headband with the Japanese flag on the front. Come here. Come here. Come here. That's racist! I'm just saying. But, if I can get away from the negatives for a minute, there's some pretty cool action. Like, there's this scene, and it's another kind of half negative. He pulls a guy through a door. And I'm saying, that's cool. How do you know the guy was there, though? Like, he just pulled him through the door. How do you know he was behind the door? And then later, he does the same thing to people he shoots through these windows, but it's one of those, like, Japanese kind of windows where you can't really see anything. You see some shadows maybe, but, like, he shoots through the windows. You don't see a shadow. It's just like, how do you know that someone was there? You could be just shooting at nothing. Lundgren's performance is pretty good. He's doing an American accent, but I can tell sometimes when he's slipping in and out of it. We have Toshihiro Obata, who's from the Ninja Turtles, the first Ninja Turtles movie he played, Tatsu. And watching this movie, it's very obvious that he's dubbed in the Ninja Turtles movie because he sounds nothing like he does. In Ninja Turtles, he's like, Ninja Banish. Here he's like, I'm just like, his voice is so high-pitched. What? It's obvious they dubbed him. Also, no offending to the Japanese people. Okay, all respect. All respect. I just, he's like, we have to destroy them. Whereas, Ninja Banish, Master Shredder. It's just, you can tell he's dubbed. But, obviously he was dubbed pretty well. But anyways, so, beginning of this starts with credits over someone with tattoos. And then you see that Tagawa has the tattoos. Or Yoshida, as his name is, has tattoos. I'm like, there's no way that was his... There's no way that muscly dude at the beginning was Tagawa. But then later there's a bathhouse scene where, no kidding, Dolph Lundgren and Brandon Lee fight a bunch of half-naked dudes in a bathhouse. But anyways, there's a bunch of dudes in there with the tattoos. So obviously there was more. It wasn't just showing that there was tattoos. Yeah. And, like, okay, so there's a scene where they're trapped in a car. These guys just have the worst luck when it comes to because, okay, first of all, the house gets blown up. And then they try to escape in their car, which is somehow, they're in this, hold on. They're like, tied up in a place, and Dolph Lundgren's able to get his freaking arm out. They get out of there, and their car is somehow there. They get in there, and that gets picked up and squished. And then they're going to put it to like a shredder thing, and they jump out. And the reason they get off lucky here is that I think if you wanted these guys dead, you would have one of your dudes, one of your henchmen, standing there to make sure the body parts come out with the metal shreddings. I'm just saying. There ain't one person standing there waiting for the body parts to come spitting out. And that's very lucky. Because then it's just like when they show up at the end for the big fight, they're like, you're dead. I'm like, Well, you didn't check to make sure, stupid. You know, you need to make sure. Always check. Like they say in school, always check your work. You know? You didn't check your work, and that's why you get an F, mister. Anyway. Yes, so... And of course, they have to have Tia Carrere sing, because she can sing. There's this real cool death, though, it's kind of disturbing. So, like, there's this one chick, I think her name is April, and, like, she's snitching on him, on Yoshida, to, this other guy. And we never see it, but it's assumed that Yoshida had him killed. So, and he's like, so what he does to kill this woman is that he, like, seduces, like, she, like, leads on, like, well, I will do you even in front of all these people. And I'm like, okay, I wouldn't be able to get it up, first of all. I cannot do it in front of people. If there's someone in the next room, maybe. Because I did it one time with my ex when there was someone in the living room and we was in there. And after we got done, I came out and he had a big fucking smile on his face. And I won't say the name, but I'll just say he's a horny bastard, alright? Anyway, fuck, I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, so the kill, right? So, she starts to seduce him or whatever, and she like takes off his shirt and you see the tattoos or whatever, and then that's when I'm like, there's no way that was him in the beginning. But so then she takes her top off. She got like a bra, and then takes the bra off, and I'm like, whoa, titties! And then like he like got her from behind, and he's like holding her up, and then he just takes a. Like, he has, like, a knife. You think he's going to stab her, but he cuts off her bra. And that's when I'm like, yo, whoa, titties. And then, so he takes a katana, and he just fucking cuts her head off. And I'm like, whoa. There's some pretty gnarly kills in this. Like, there's one that I almost call bullshit on, because there's this big fat-ass dude. This big fat-ass sumo dude that Lundgren is fighting, and they're underwater, and he stabs him, and at first, you don't see blood, but then they cut to the next shot, and you see the blood in there, but it you know, maybe they didn't have it in that shot, who knows, but, yes. Also, one thing I thought was weird, there's a shot where they're fighting, and one of their guns falls in the water, and they hold on it falling in the water, that never comes back. I thought that when they fell in the water, Lundgren was going to take that gun and shoot him with it, but then he just stabs him with a knife or whatever. I don't know, maybe it's just the style of the director. Who directed this? Mark L. Lester. Never heard of him. But, hey, wasn't bad. I just think maybe Brandon Lee should have got a little more time. I mean, when you have the son of one of the greatest martial arts experts in history in a film, and he's playing sidekick to a 6'8" Swedish man who once fought Rocky Balboa and killed Apollo Creed, I think maybe you should have had the Asian American be the lead in your Asian American film. I'm just saying. It would have made more sense than a 6'8" Swedish man just like an Asian person. That's just me. I'm just saying. Otherwise, I thought this movie was pretty fun. Man, I picked a hard one to rank because, man. Okay, so when I did my horror one, I picked a bunch of mediocre to bad horror movies because I figured it'd be fun to try to rank those. But this time I picked a lot of good ones, and that's going to be even harder than ranking bad ones because, oh, that's so good. And so, Showdown in Little Tokyo. I think this is, let's see. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I was going to say To the Moon, but no. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I think it's pretty good. It could probably rank up in my top action movies now. It's really good. It's one of those, buddy cop type films. They're both policemen. And I like that scene at the beginning too when they're going back and forth so you have Dolph Lundgren goes into this diner or whatever and he starts fighting these people because they're linked with the Gawas, with Yoshido. And he starts fighting them. Brandon Lee comes walking by, sees this happening and is like, hey, stop. And he jumps in, he tries to fight him, and they're fighting each other. Then the Japanese people start shooting at him, and then they both pull out their badges at each other and realize that they're not only cops, but meant to be partners. So the only thing is, we don't really see a police chief or anything. It's just them. So it's really weird. But yes, a 9 out of 10 for me. I really enjoyed this film. So next up is my ranking, which I will be putting out tomorrow, ? I might film it tonight and put it out tomorrow. Who knows? But until then, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. I'll see you in the next one.